You're up early.
Same as always.
Where'd you learn those nuts?
Pa, he knows all kinds of nuts.
Yeah, I know. I taught him. Come with me, boy.
You mad about the nuts? I was just messing around.
Can you read, boy?
Yeah, of course.
This isn't easy reading, but there's a lot of history here.
What is it?
It's a whaler's journal. It's sort of a diary. It was my grandfather's. That would be your great-great-grandfather. He went to sea when he was just about your age. He wrote that when he wasn't much older. Be careful, it's very old.
Drew pictures of whales.
That's how they recorded the whales they struck.
You mean with the harpoon?
Yep. They took 63 whales over a 2-year period.
Look at all these.
They got 3 that day. Whaling was a big industry in those days, and it got bigger. They nearly wiped out some whales. That's why Miss Abrams and the others here are counting humpbacks. See how many are left.
Captain Granville?
Now, you keep that below. Someday it'll be yours.
Will?
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. Could you take a look at this?
This part of the bank is where we want to sample the whale population. We'll start the census here. Each of these transects is 10 miles long.
多长的追浪口
Constant speed?
8 knots.
The humpbacks can swim at 3 or 4 knots. We don't want any to pass us, or we might count them twice.
Looks like a long day. Let's weigh anchor. All hands on deck.
What about breakfast?
Guess you missed it. CT, read off our position from that Moran.
67 degrees, 42 minutes, west longitude, and 41 degrees, 30 minutes, north latitude.
Miss Abrams, we're right where you wanted to be, on a course at 270.
Okay, Arthur and Rachel. Any whale you spot, give me the behavior, its compass bearing, and the distance. Sally Ruth will check our sighting. We'll start counting now.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Whales, Arthur.
Just trying to lighten everyone's load. Hey, 1! I mean, there really is 1.
Sighting cue?
What?
That means what did you see first?
Oh, right. The blow.
Bearing?
56 degrees.
And the distance?
400 meters.
Close, Arthur.
You'll get the hang of it. Just remember, on a clear day, the horizon's about 5 miles or 8 kilometers.
I got one over here. Spy the blow. And it's 115 degrees and about 650 meters out.
I say that's just about on the nose, Rachel.
Oh, no.
This is a piece of cake.
Except there's only one problem.
It's not the humpback.
It's a finback.
What? Piece of cake, huh?
It's okay, we still count them. You see, it's bigger and its dorsal fin is sharper. And it doesn't hump its back like a...
Humpback.
Right.
There's the blow. Is that a humpback?
Sure is.
10 degrees. 2 kilometers.
Pretty close.
Species.
Humpback.
Time of sighting.
6 minutes and 5 seconds.
Sighting cue.
Blow.
Bearing.
56 degrees.
Distance.
800 meters.
ID, no. Photo, no. Any more sightings? Yes. Species.
Fin. Back.
Oh, right. Okay. O. Fin.
Is it done?
Just.
There it is.
That's great.
This line represents the path that the boat took, and each of these X's is a whale. We don't count anything further out than 2 miles because it's just too uncertain.
8 doesn't seem like much.
A 10-mile strip, 4 miles wide, is 40 square miles. The bank's about 12,000 square miles. If there were 8 humpbacks in every 40 square miles, there'd be...
2,400 humpbacks? That's impossible, right?
Well, it's not likely anyway. The entire population in the Northwest Atlantic probably isn't much more than that.
So wait a minute. Maybe there's more of them than we thought.
More likely, they concentrate in certain areas in the bank. That's why we'll do a series of the census transects at several different places over the next 2 weeks. And we have 3 more to do today.
A blow. 240 degrees. 500 meters.
Saw another one over there. Saw it blow.
Off the port bow.
That's it. That wraps it for today. More red ahead.
Well, we can't count them in this census, but we can sure look at them.
Thank you from the bottom of my bottom.
You're welcome. We got a total of 22. Can you enter those onto the computer?
Sure.
Grandpa, can I go up now? I climb trees taller than that all the time.
Trees stand still.
Sally Ruth asked me.
See this safety line over here?
Yeah?
Tie it around your chest.
Bowling?
And good and tight, too. Ramon, you take the wheel, please. Just hold that course. Good. Watch your step. Up you go. That's it. Keep an eye on that line. Attaboy.
Hi.
Keep that line around your waist up there, CT. I'm gonna tie you off.
You scared? Up here? No. Me neither. It's nice. What? It's nice.
Oh,
I can't believe they're so close. They're so trusting.
What you're seeing now is sort of his forehead. It's called the rostrum.
What are those bumps?
They're called tubercles. There's a little stiff hair on each bump. The ancestors of whales lived on land, and that's all that's left of their hair.
Are those barnacles on its chin?
Yup. They grow mostly on the chin patch. The flippers and on the flukes.
Do they hurt the whale?
You have to ask it.
Look at the size of him! Could be a her, CT! Remember what Ramon said? The females are bigger! Yeah, I know!
Hey, that whale breathed all over us. It could use a breath deodorizer.
Oh, it just smells a little fishy. What do you expect?
See how it closes its blowholes just before the water can get in?
It has its nose on top of its head.
Well, it's a good place to have it if you live underwater.
Holy mackerel! Look how fast they're going! Wow! He's going right under the boat!
Hey, Ramon, he's going under the boat. It's coming up over here. You wouldn't believe it. I mean, this guy would eat anything.
Brussels sprouts. Rachel sandwich.
Oh, wow.
What?
Something in this book of your grandfather's.
Read it out loud.
It's kind of sad.
Go ahead, read it.
The whale was close by the ship. It lay there, playing about, as if all unconscious of the near danger. It was so near us that I had a fine chance of seeing all that was done. I saw them when they threw the 2 irons into it. Then he thrashed about in the water and took the boat along with him at a rate I should not fancy going. I could see him as he went along, throwing first his flukes and then his head out of the water and then spouting a stream of blood into the air. I could see the whale was getting weaker, and its motions were less frequent and fainter. It was soon dead, and the 2 boats were not long towing it to the ship.
Come on, buddy, let's get some sleep.
Yeah, good night, you guys. Good night.
They must have been right next to him. Just like today. I'm Ben Affleck. This is Washington, D.C. See, there's the Capitol building, there's the Washington Monument, and right there is the Smithsonian Institution. They call it the Museum of the Nation.
The Smithsonian's got everything you could imagine, from airplanes to elephants. There are over 100 million different things here. I guess that's why some people call it the nation's attic. I thought our attic was stuffed.
Anyhow, remember what Ramon said about whales' ancestors living on the land? Well, you know, I found that kind of hard to believe. So I came here to see what I could learn.
I wanted evidence, and I figured if I could find it anywhere, it would be at the natural history section of the Smithsonian. This is a place not just for people to see natural history, but especially for scientists to study. Charlie Potter is a scientist who studies mammals, a mammologist.
You gotta admit, it's kind of hard to believe that something looking like that once lived on land.
Right, yes. Well, something looking like this didn't live on land. The ancestors of blue whales lived on land, and it's been millions and millions of years since those early land mammals moved from land to the sea, and they didn't look very much at all like the blue whale we have here today.
Charlie gave me clue number 1. Whales and dolphins are mammals. Some of them even have hair, like all other mammals. Well, a few hairs anyhow.
Oh yeah, I saw those in a humpback whale.
Right, well, hair is a characteristic common to all mammals, but only mammals have got hair.
But I already knew whales were mammals. That didn't seem like much of a clue until Charlie pointed out that all mammals we know about evolved on land. That's good evidence, but it wasn't good enough for me. I mean, maybe one kind of mammal, whales, evolved in the sea. After all, they look just like fish. Charlie figured a different view of the whale might convince me that whales' ancestors weren't just mammals, but land mammals. Under the skin, whales don't look so much like fish.
Yeah, this is the skeleton of a gray whale. What we're looking at right now is the head, and this long piece coming down here is the lower jaw. And back here, they see the ribs, and here's the flipper. And if you look
The skeleton and Charlie gave me clue number 2. The flipper bones of all whales and dolphins look like hands. Land animals have hand bones. Fish don't.
You'll notice that in the gray whale, it only has 4 fingers, but it has many, many more finger bones or phalanges. That's to streamline the flipper and make it into a big paddle.
Pretty good evidence. Whales are mammals and they have skeleton parts like land mammals. But that made me want to know more about how whales used to look. I still had my doubts, and I wasn't going to give up. Neither was Charlie. He had just the person for me to talk to.
Frank?
Oh, hi, Charlie. How are you?
Dr. Frank Whitmore is a paleontologist. That's a scientist who studies old bones, or fossils.
Good luck with Ben. He's a real persistent customer.
Oh, that's what I like. See you, Charlie. Well, Ben, you want to know about whales, huh?
Yeah.
That's a fossil porpoise I've got there. We just collected it last week in North Carolina. It's about 15 million years old. How about that? Yeah. And what I'm doing is chiseling it out of this rock here with a dentist pick. Probably makes your teeth hurt to look at it. And what you have to do, you just pick a little bit at a time. Would you like to try it?
Yeah, sure.
Here, you sit down here.
Okay.
And now always work away from the bone, see? So then if you slip, well, you might cut yourself, but you won't cut the bone, and that's important.
My original question that I came here was what was the proof that you had that the ancestors of whales lived on land?
Okay, start off, whales are mammals. Now, Charlie told you about that.
Right.
You remember they're warm-blooded, they bear their young alive, they feed their babies milk, and they even have hair. Although I've got more hair than a blue whale does. So we start with that. We know they're mammals. And mammals, as far as we know, lived on land way, way, way back. The earliest known land mammals are about 250, 300 million years old. So what we do with the fossils is to trace back from the modern whales and go through stage after stage, older and older, and each stage is sort of like the one after it, and sort of different, and as you go back, you find that the early whales look more like land mammals than the ones we have now. And we can see them in the specimens that I've got out in the collection, where I can show you old ones, and then a little younger, and a little younger, and a little younger, and then you can see what you think.
All right, can we go see them now?
Yeah, let's do that.
Well, here we are.
The Smithsonian has over 30 million different fossil pieces, 8,000 of them from prehistoric whales. The fossils make a kind of record of an animal's evolution.
We study lots and lots of different things, like the size and the length of the snout, and the teeth, and the blowhole, and so on. But we can just take one thing. Now, you know about blowholes, don't you? Haven't you seen?
Charlie told me about those.
Yeah, and have you seen whales blow?
Yeah, humpback.
Oh,
Humpback
did you?
Whales, yeah.
Yeah. So you know where their blowholes are. Where?
Right Like the top of their heads or the necks?
Right, yeah, right up there on top. Well, let's look at what happened to the blowhole as whales
What happened to it?
evolved. Yeah, something happened to it. Didn't stay where it was. Now, let's take a modern one for starters. Now, you know about gray whales. Now, this is a porpoise, but the same thing is true. There's the blowhole. I guess you know about
right
that.
here,
Right there. Right out the top of the head. Now, let's go back a little ways. Just a little ways, 15 million years.
15 million
A mere
years.
nothing. And come on over here. Now, this long-beaked porpoise from Maryland is about 15 million years old. Look at the blowhole here. See, it's still pretty far back. That's like a modern porpoise pretty much, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, let's see, that's 15 million. And then we come over to this one here, which is 30 million years old. And there's the blowhole right there. What do you think about that?
It's pointing forward.
Yeah, So that's different. Sometime between 30 million years ago and 15 million years ago, something big happened in the blowhole business. It moved way back, see?
I was beginning to see what Dr. Whitmore was getting at.
Let's go back.
The modern porpoise has its blowhole way on the back of its head, but it took millions of years to get there.
This is of a whale, the oldest known until very recently. It was 50 million years old. And there's what?
The blowhole.
The blowhole, or the nostril. I
Way
guess
up here.
maybe it isn't a blowhole when it's way up there, but it's more like a nostril. Now, does that look like a whale?
Not really.
Oh. What does it look like, I wonder? Maybe it looks sort of like this.
Well, it looks more like this than it looks like a whale.
Yeah, that's right.
And so because of this part and this part and this.
And the nostril is sticking right out the front. You know what that is? That's a dog.
A dog? You mean the ancestors of whales were dogs?
No, they weren't dogs, but they had nostrils coming out the front, just the way all land mammals do. Horses, nostrils are out at the front, and camels, and cats, and things. And so this is more like, in that way, like a land mammal than it is like a whale. But we call it a whale because it was swimming around in the ocean. So this is one of the many pieces of evidence that we use to know that the ancestors of whales were land mammals.
Why did the ancestors of whales go into the water in the first place?
Well, one of the theories, which I like, is that, for instance, in Egypt, where it was a very low country, very wet, lots of plants, and I think that it was what biologists call population pressure. You had an area where there are lots of different kinds of animals, and they're all competing for food.
One kind of animal was what scientists call a creodon. The scientists don't know what it looked like, but here's one artist's idea. It lived by the sea and would eat almost anything. When it discovered clams and oysters and things by wading, it probably began spending more and more time in the water. When genetic changes happened that helped some of the animals swim a little bit better, those creodons had an advantage in survival because they could eat more. Over millions of years, they probably evolved to a creature who spent part of its time on land and part in the water. Most likely, their nostrils had moved back some already, making it easier for them to breathe in deep water. Their feet were maybe more like paddles. Because of the advantages of more food and perhaps protection, these animals continued to evolve into a kind of prehistoric whale, like the skull that Dr. Whitmore had. The nostrils were even further back. There wouldn't be much need for hind legs, and the front ones were more like the flippers of the modern whales. From there, the whale evolved to look more and more like a fish, and it could move through water better. It still had to breathe air, and the further back its nostrils or blowhole was, the easier that became. I had to admit, the clues I had now were pretty convincing. Whales are mammals, they have hand bones, and the fossils show that the blowhole has moved back from the front of the snout. Dr. Whitmore's theory made sense. It took one last look at the modern gray whale skeleton to make me believe it. Dr. Whitmore let me climb right up into the exhibit to get a better look at his last piece of evidence.
Well, this is a real treat to get up here behind the skeleton. Not every visitor to the Smithsonian can get up here. So what's the evidence for, where the whales came from, the question you asked me? We remember the blowhole, and there it is up there. And here we are right up next to that great big shoulder blade and the whole flipper structure, and which is the structure of a land mammal, only it's been changed into a flipper. And now you come down here, it's a long walk to the other end of a whale.
Yeah.
And lastly, we come to the pelvis. You remember?
Finally, Dr. Whitmore showed me something that really convinced me. Pelvic bones. We have pelvic bones. All animals with hind legs have pelvic bones. The pelvis is where the hind legs attach to the body. Some whales, like this gray, still have pelvic bones, even though the bones don't have any purpose now. There wouldn't be any reason ever to have a pelvis if you didn't ever have hind legs. And there wouldn't be any reason to have hind legs if you didn't want to walk on land.
All these things we've been talking about add up to something. And when people started studying whales, they didn't have the idea that they were descended from land mammals. But as you get more and more evidence, then you reach a conclusion based on the evidence.
As far as I was concerned, my mission was accomplished. I wanted clues. The evidence scientists have that the ancestors of whales walked around on land. And searching in the nation's attic, I found what I was looking for.